Hey, you found us. Welcome home to Center for Spiritual Living. We understand that you can't sit here in these chairs and be with us for everything that we do in the world, but we still want you to be part of our community. I want you to know that you're making a difference. With every challenge you meet, with every thought that you change, you contribute to the value of life on this planet. You're part of this higher vision. Click the Contribute button today and continue being the difference. And remember, what you give here, what you give to others, returns right back to your life, multiplied abundantly.
There was a time in my life, thought I had to do it all myself. I didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. I didn't know the love of God was at hand. Now I can say that you are discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day. You got to let it go, let it all go. And this is what you had to say.
You know, I've been asked a bunch of times if we plan this. We told me to plan this, you guys.
We don't email,
Where
and we don't
everything
text.
we got planned this.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Good morning, CSL. I missed you last week, but I'm back. You are here. Let's stand up and cheer. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light, and I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for Are you having a lovely day? when someone else instead of me always seems to know the way. Then I look at you, and the world's alright with me. I'm just looking at you, and I know it's gonna be a lovely day. You can stay with us another day. Seems impossible to face when someone else instead of me always seems to know the way. Oh, when I look at you, and the world's alright with me. I just look at you, and I know it's gonna be let's hold this note together.
Birds flying high. You know how I feel. Sun in the sky. Thank God. You know how I feel. Breeze drifting on by. You know how I feel. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new life for me. And I'm feeling good. Fish in the sea, you so good. How am I supposed to follow that? I'm not singing. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to CSL. My name is Matthew Marcus. I'm happy to be the presider today. Thank you. For those that are new to CSL, welcome. This is our spiritual community, and we're happy that you are here to join us. We're always here throughout the week, and of course every Sunday. So please, anytime you want to make your way here, doors are always open. And for those returning, of course, it's awesome that you are back and love having you as a part of our regular community. So let's talk about our core value, right? Abundance. We celebrate a number of core values here at CSL, and today's core value is abundance. And abundance is a plethora of something. And when I think about it with abundance, especially at this time of the season, I think about an abundance of giving, right? An abundance of receiving, an abundance of blessings, and of course, an abundance of challenges. So we get a bunch of abundance, and I think Reverend Mike will have a lot to say about abundance in his lesson. And there's a number of announcements, but before we do that, I think we should all rise and say our intention statement, and then we'll greet one another in a way that's most appropriate and comfortable for you. So, we are a diverse spiritual community expressing God as love. Good energy out there. I feel like we should do round two. Okay, we got a number of announcements here I'm excited to tell you about. First of all, a lovely day. I love that you sang that song, right? Because it is a lovely day, I think we can all agree. And the thing is, I know global warming is like a serious issue and it's something we really need to confront, but it's really tough to complain about 56-degree days in early December, Casey. Okay, announcements. It's that time again. We're adopting families and organizations, helping them out. As you can see, we have our lovely holiday Christmas tree up here with plenty of ornaments. Please come up and check them out. We're supporting families and organizations. And take an ornament. We want to empty this tree. Go out and get a gift for them. It's listed on the ornament, and then bring it back wrapped by December 13th, next Sunday. If you choose an ornament for a family, make sure that you put the ornament on the package so we know who it goes to. But yeah, let's work to empty this tree. There's already some lovely gifts. I saw people coming in, carrying sacks on each side, so that's awesome. Again, by next Sunday. Okay. It's community outreach. So we over the last few weeks, I think maybe the month, we had people nominating organizations around town to support nonprofits, and we've narrowed down to the top 5 nominations, and so now it's time to vote, right? So some forms on your chairs. We didn't have enough for all the chairs, so there's still forms in the back, but by today, you've got to choose the top 3 organizations that you think CSL should support for the coming year. And again, this is the day to do it. So fill them out, and for those that don't have any, the back of the room, we've got them. Okay, Operation Give. Now, I did this last year. It was fantastic. So December 19th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., basically, members of this community are going to get together. We're going to go out and do random acts of kindness, right? So you can go out, go to a grocery store, go to a coffee shop, go to a restaurant, and just, do something a little bit crazy that's really nice, right? Maybe pick up someone's grocery bill, right? Stand aside and say, hey, I want to support you this holiday season. I'm going to pay for your groceries. What I did last year is I went around, I had a bunch of $1 and $2 bills, and I went through CVS, and I wrote really nice comments on them, like really nice, like loving you or happy holidays, and I put them in cards, and I put them like next to Pepto-Bismol and Alka-Seltzer. Yeah, because like, you find $2, you know, you got upset somebody, you're like, hey, $2, I don't feel so bad anymore. So, you know, so we're gonna do that December 19th, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m., so join us. Very excited about that. And, okay, so this is the one that I'm most excited about. All right, so we regularly give to CSL to support our community. Usually we do that towards the end of service. We have baskets that go around. There's also an electronic site in the back. But now we have a new way to give, because everybody has probably one of these in their pocket. It's a supercomputer. It's pretty amazing. If you don't, you might have a flip phone. Those work as well. Right? So I'm going to show you how you can now text to give. This is pretty amazing. I think Ken's going to zoom up here. All right, so here we go. I'm going to go to my messages. All right, here we go. So I'm going to create a new message. And I've already got the number there. Oh, hold on here. All right, so the number is 855-696-1500. Save that in your phone. All right, so I'm going to create a message. All right, so now let's say I want to give like $10 to CSL. I go 10. I'm just going to text the number 10. Boom, it says to set up this device for text giving to Center for Spiritual Living, click this link, right? So I click this link. Now you can create an account with SecureGive, right? I've already done that, so I'm just going to log in. Oh, there we go. Okay, boom, now reply to me. And it says reply Y to confirm your transaction at $10 to Center for Spiritual Living. So I'm going to do yes, not you. Boom! $10 to CSL, just like that. Okay, now here's the thing. So I had to click that link the first time, but now let's say I'm like drinking whiskey one night and being a little crazy. Let's do, I don't know, $1 million? Reply Y to confirm your transaction of 100,000 Center for Spiritual Living. That was a little too much, so let's just do it. And then I'm safe, right? So I didn't get a little too crazy. But you can literally send money that quickly. So that's pretty awesome. So do we have the number up there? Yeah, there you go. So, you know, add that as a contact to your phone, and then boom, anytime you want to just throw a little something to CSL, it's that easy. Okay, well, I think that's it. Enjoy the service. Namaste.
Yeah.
morning. So I want to start by saying Happy Hanukkah to all of those of you who practice the Jewish faith or honor that tradition. We're aware that Hanukkah does not start until this evening, so we didn't put the menorah up just out to be perfectly legal about it. But next Sunday we will have the menorah with the candles, but we did want to say Happy Hanukkah ahead of time for all of you who observe that Jewish holiday. So we are this month studying the philosophy of Jesus, and it's from the book by the same title. Several weeks ago we sold out of it in one day, and so many people have asked about it that we got some more. So there are more copies of this book in the bookstore for you if you're one of those people who have been looking for it, or if you're suddenly interested in it. So it went pretty fast, so I would encourage you to get there quick. So as I began reading, though, about the life and the ministry of Jesus this week, I noticed a consistent theme showing up that I believe is relevant for us this morning. Because time after time, it said that Jesus was surrounded by people in need of healing. And I think that's been true for most of us for some time, that we have felt surrounded by a world in need of healing. So it was just a month ago today that I was up here praying for the people of Paris. And now a month later, we're going to be praying for the people of San Bernardino, California. The thing is, once you start naming one or two of those incidents, there are a dozen others that get left out and don't get mentioned, like the Syrian refugees, or people who are just trying to get basic human rights, human equal rights based on their race or their religion or their culture, or some other factor that has prevented them from feeling like they have basic human rights. So the fact that we see all of this happening on what's happening in the world in real time on a 24-hour news cycle, I think is either a blessing or a curse, depending how you choose to look at it. I think it feels like a curse when we feel overwhelmed and powerless by what it is that we're seeing happening. But it can be a blessing, if you want to choose to call it that, when millions of other people are seeing it at the same time, and it motivates people to take action on a global scale if we make that choice. So I don't know if you saw this on the local news in the last couple of days or not, but the Islamic Center of Johnson County has started a hashtag movement called Not in My Name. And it's a movement by Muslim people in Kansas City saying we're no longer going to be silent. That these acts of terror that we see on TV and all over the world, those are not in our name. They're not in the name of our religion. We don't support it. We don't stand behind it. It's not who we are, and it's not who we teach. You know, you can call it murder or being barbaric or doing it in the name of anger, but we're no longer going to be silent and say this is in the name of our religion. It started out, according to the interview on TV, just to be a movement in a mosque in Johnson County. And according to the report, there are mosques all over the United States already joining the movement with them to say, this is not happening in my name. So when Jesus was surrounded by people in need of healing, it also says he was moved by compassion. And the key word there is that he was moved. There was an action, because compassion is a verb. It's an action word. He was moved by compassion and he prayed. So I want us to pray this morning as part of the lesson, but I'm also going to invite us as we pray to consider what our compassionate action might be after the prayer ends. You know, to say maybe it's more than just saying a prayer. Maybe there's something I should do, like the Islamic Center in Johnson County, start a movement or support a group or an organization that's working for compassionate change in the world. So I'm just going to invite us to go inside for a few minutes and remember that there is no distance in prayer, that we have created the whole idea of distance and time, but in the spiritual realm there is no such thing as distance. So the spirit of love and compassion and healing and peace and love that is in this room is also with the people in San Bernardino, California. And it is also with the Syrian refugees. And it is with all of those who are just looking for basic equal human rights based on race or religion or the culture that they come from. And we stand with them, knowing that they are expressions of God just like we are, that there is no difference between them and us when it gets down to the core of who we really are. So we give thanks that we know that our prayer does make a difference because there is no distance, that the ripple effect is felt all over the world because of what we do right here. We have that bold belief that it's making a difference in the world as we speak it. But we also know that there could be something more that we may be called to do, some compassionate action that we are being called to take in our individual world, in our individual life. And so we open our hearts and minds to that, whether it's to pray more, to give more, to support more, to speak up, to make phone calls or write letters, whatever it might be, whatever compassionate action looks like for us, we become willing to be part of the solution instead of wringing our hands and saying, when will it ever change? And so we give thanks that we have the power to create something different in the world. And it lives and breathes and moves within each and every one of us. And for that we give thanks, and together we say, and so it is. So we are beginning the month this morning by looking at the power that Jesus used, which is a completely different idea of power than what the people of his time were looking for. And it's actually a very different idea of power than many people's concept of power today might be. So I'm going to come back to that a little bit and expand on this idea of power and what the power is that Jesus used. But someone told me this week, I don't remember CSL ever taking a whole month to talk about Jesus. You are really living on the edge. And I thought, yeah, it might be edgy, but you probably don't expect anything different, do you, than edgy. I just want to set it up by saying our goal is not to diminish who Jesus was. The goal is to shine a light on who he said we are. So in case you don't know, and maybe you already do know this, but in case you don't, our Science of Mind textbook, the one we use all the time, has an entire section devoted to the teachings of Jesus. I think there's 70 or 80 pages in the middle of the book devoted to his teachings. So Jesus' philosophy, or what he taught, is not foreign to what we believe and teach here. It just doesn't always seem that obvious that we're teaching what some of the principles are that he taught, partly because the principles that he taught are the threads of truth that run through many of the world's religions. So see if any of these ideas sound familiar to you. The kingdom of heaven is within you. It's done unto you as you believe. Life is eternal. The power of forgiveness. the golden rule, giving and receiving, also known as the law of circulation. I'm sure they do sound familiar to you if you've been here for a while. You hear it on Sunday mornings or classes that we teach. But those are a short list of the principles that Jesus taught. So it's nothing foreign to us to hear those terms and those principles. But here's something I learned from my own experience that I think maybe many of you can relate to. Our issue or our emotional charge or whatever resistance that we might feel come up when we hear there's going to be a month of conversations and lessons about Jesus, when we really get honest about it with ourselves, it's not really about the man Jesus. I've personally never heard anyone say, I just don't like Jesus. Never heard anybody say, never liked him, there's something about him I just don't care for. It's usually just the opposite. You know, Jesus gets great reviews. It's the people that speak or act on his behalf that we have the issue with. So I think the reality is that we've kind of made a mess of the simplicity of the message that he was trying to teach humanity. So we see cartoons like maybe one that you've seen. I saw this one recently, but it was kind of the iconic picture of Jesus standing, on a rock or on a mountain speaking to the people who had come to hear him. And he was saying, just love one another. Treat people the way you want to be treated. And the next cartoon shows a man raising his hand saying, well, what if they aren't like us? What if they're Muslim? Or what if they're gay? Or look different from us? And Jesus is looking down saying, did I stutter? Did I stutter when I said, just love one another and treat people like you want to be treated? See, it's us that have put the conditions in the ifs on what he said. I don't know if you've heard of the comedian Margaret Cho. Okay, so I had to really clean this up to share it with you. So it probably won't even be funny. Because it loses kind of its Margaret Cho punch if you have to clean it up. But she was doing a routine once, and part of it was where she said, if it's really true that Jesus is going to come back someday, I want to be there on the day that happens. Because I think the first thing he's going to say is, that's not what I meant. Excuse me. So we're the ones who have complicated it. And if there's been any damage or any alienation done, it hasn't been from the principles that Jesus taught. It's been done in the way they were communicated, or the way they were applied, or we were told they were supposed to be applied. Yeah, thank you. I don't remember ever saying this out loud here, but probably 30 years or so ago, I had it with church, and I walked out. I just totally walked away from it. Just so you know, it was not a center for spiritual living. It was another religion. But I swore that I would never be back. I would never go back to church, and I never wanted to hear the word God or Jesus again, until it dawned on me that it wasn't Jesus or the principles that he taught that had wounded me. It was the people saying that they represented him that had done the damage. And what I learned through that, actually I went to therapy, but what I learned was that my anger and unforgiveness and resentment towards certain religious people meant that I was giving away opportunities for profound and meaningful spiritual experiences and letting someone else dictate the quality of my spiritual life by staying away. And from conversations I hear from a lot of different places, I think there's still healing that needs to take place in order for people to really hear the truth and the simplicity of what Jesus was trying to teach us. So, what was this power that Jesus used? So, as I said in the beginning, it was not the kind of power that the people of his time were looking for. Because the Jewish people of his time had endured generation after generation of history where they had been oppressed and enslaved. So when Jesus came along, they were looking for a liberator. They were literally looking for someone who would overthrow the powerful and the oppressive Roman Empire and to establish a new way of life for them. So when Jesus came talking about the kingdom of heaven, the kingdom they were looking for was an earthly kingdom, and hoping Jesus would be the one to make it happen for them. So what they got in Jesus was something completely different. He didn't come teaching them strategies to set them free through physical or military or political power. His power came from an entirely different source that was completely foreign to the people of his time because it was an inner spiritual power that they could not see. And there are probably times we wonder just how much progress we've made in 2,000 years in understanding that kind of power today. And I don't mean that as a political statement about Republican or Democrat or war or anti-war. It's just a statement about basic human treatment and how we believe that we get the things in life that we say we want. This attitude where the one with the most power and the most resources wins and everyone else loses. So the outward evidence of the invisible power Jesus used was in the fact that he healed the sick and restored them back to health. But as Ernest Holmes says in the book that we're reading this month, he says there is much more to life than merely getting rid of pain. Jesus had access to something that gave him a deep inward peace and a feeling of security that removed all confusion, all doubt and uncertainty from his mind. So that's the journey we're on this month, is to unlock that power that's greater than we are. Because Jesus plainly told us that the key to that was in the kind of relationship that he had with God, and that it was present everywhere and in every one of us. He never called himself the great exception. We've come to see him that way, but he consistently said, it's in every one of us. He was the great example of what's possible, not the great exception. So the foundation for all that Jesus was and all that he was able to do is that he believed himself to be one with God and that this divine presence was right where he was. Somehow, I think we've come to think that that just somehow magically happened for him to believe that. Until I finally got it one day that Jesus had a spiritual practice. Because it says in several places, he separated himself from the crowds. He went off alone to pray. And if there is anyone who ever needed some alone time to pray and meditate, I think it was him. Because he was surrounded by doctors of law who thought they had all the answers. They were always trying to catch him and trap him over something that he had said or done. And eventually they decided it was just better to have him killed. His own followers, who heard him teach all the time and saw all of his miracles, needed to be convinced over and over and over again that he was the real deal. And when the people saw his miracles, they always wanted something from him. There were always crowds of people surrounding him, demanding attention from him to heal them. So he went off by himself. He took care of his own spiritual needs to reconnect to the presence that he said is where we are all the time. But it wasn't some magic formula for him. He didn't get a free pass at needing a practice that kept him in constant contact to something that was greater than himself, any more than it's a magic formula for us. So we see the evidence of his spiritual practice in the way he responded when people were surrounding him with needs and asking to be healed. So if he saw himself as the great exception, the way we've come to see him, he could have said something like, "Okay, everybody step back. I'm the only one powerful enough and qualified to handle this need for healing. After all, I'm the one that had the virgin birth. And angels sang when I was born. And don't forget the times that God spoke from the sky, reminding you that it's me who is the Son of God." So that's not an argument about whether all of those things were true or not. It's only to say those are the images and the ideas about Jesus that have been ingrained in us so that we see him as the exception. So in other words, we've kind of been unconsciously trained to say, don't even try to be like him. Just worship him from afar and try to eke out some kind of a spiritual life. It's important to know and to notice what Jesus said about himself. Because in more than one place he said, "On my own, I can do nothing. The Spirit that dwells in me is the one that does the work." And since we believe there's only one Spirit, it's got to be the same one that's in us. So he knew that as a human, he had no power of himself at all. But his practice had made him so intimately aware of the divine presence that flows through everything and everyone, including himself, that when he prayed, there was no need to beg or bargain or present a convincing argument. When Jesus prayed, it was simple and direct and affirmative. In more than one place, his prayer was, "I thank you that you've heard me. I know you hear me always." I thought, that's it? You know, I thought you had to pray for at least 5 minutes, obviously. I'm working on that. But his prayer was a simple recognition of the divine presence and the divine power that is always available. There was no doubt, no uncertainty, no begging, no bargaining, just simple affirmative words. I thank you. Gratitude. You hear me always. And there's the certainty. You always hear me. So as much as we'd like there to be some magic pill that we could take one time that would get us to that same place, just like Jesus, it only comes from a practice that puts us in regular, consistent contact with a power that's greater than we are. But I think it is really important to notice that Jesus did not deny the fact that there was a need. He managed those facts not by denying them, he managed them by applying and using spiritual principle. He managed the facts using spiritual truth. And that's why he told us not to judge by appearances. because he just wasn't that impressed by the appearances. So we get a pretty clear picture of what it is that really impresses us by asking one question. And here's the question. Am I more impressed with the problem or the one who is greater than the problem? And how do I know? How do I know what impresses me the most? I give the most attention to the one I'm most impressed by. So we need a practice to shift our attention. And it's to shift our attention from the problem to the one who is greater than the problem itself. So his practice gave Jesus the power that he used to show us what's possible for us, to have the absolute clarity and absolute certainty to say what he said. It's God's pleasure to give me the kingdom. I thank you that you've heard me. I know you hear me always. And to believe those words so deeply that there is no opposite in us to contradict those words. So, I hope you'll keep coming this month, because we're not out, as I said, to diminish who Jesus was. We're here to shine the light on who he said we are. So we're going to go deeper into the philosophy of Jesus over the next 3 weeks and talk about spiritual healing, effective prayer, and releasing and letting go, and how those practices and those principles can become powerful parts of our life, just like they were in his life. So before we pray, I want to close with the affirmation that is on your chair and is going to appear on the wall. And this affirmation is a truth from sacred text that tells us about our connection in our relationship with God. So let's say this together and then we'll pray again. My power is in knowing that nothing can separate me from the love of God. What? So let's close our eyes and go inside and pray one more time. And remember again that the presence of God knows no distance, that it knows no limit, that it's right where we are. And the sacred text tells us that there is nothing that can separate us from that power. We've placed the conditions on the things that we say separate us from it. If I had only, if I hadn't done that, if this hadn't happened. Sacred text does not have an if. It just says, nothing can separate me from the love of God. And so our work is to have a practice that connects us continuously to that truth, to remember it, to embody it, and to know that it's what the Masters told us was true about us. And so we give thanks that there is an unimaginable creative power within us to create a life and a world that's beyond our human imagination to conceive of. But in the spiritual realm, we go inside and do conceive of it. We do imagine what is possible from the things that we are told by example that are possible by the life and the ministry of Jesus. Never once telling us that I'm the only one that can do this, but consistently reminding us that the Spirit that was in him is everywhere present, in everyone, in all people, in all places, and there's no place where it is not present. And so for this we give thanks, because it can shift and change our perspective in an instant, to know that there is no place that God is not present. Everywhere we go, it's there. Every person that we see, it's there. Even in our pain, in our grief, in our disappointment, it's still there. It's the thing that makes life full of potential for more greatness than we ever thought there was. And so we get ready to go into spiritual practice, to be reminded, to go deeply inside. But for now, we open our hearts and our minds with gratitude for the fact that we are loved beyond measure no matter what, and that there's nothing that can separate us from that. Together we say, and so it is.
I'm not going to be able to leave this building without these two hands coming together over and over and over for me.
this is our time for spiritual practice together. And to follow the example that we were given, that this is our way to reconnect to a power greater than us. The power that makes all things possible, the power that heals, the presence of peace, the presence of love, the presence of forgiveness and release. And so we take a breath and go inside and practice together. I love taking a question into my spiritual practice. So I'm going to ask you to do that with me this morning. And just ask what would be possible if you really believed what Jesus said, that it's God's pleasure to give you the kingdom. What would that mean? What would it mean that you had to let go of? Or who you would have to let go of? What circumstance would you have to forgive? Who would you need to forgive, even if that's yourself? To believe that it's God's pleasure to give you the kingdom. What would be possible? And so as we get ready to sit and go into the silence, what would be possible if we believed that nothing can separate us from the love of God? What would we do? What would we be willing to try? Would I be kinder to myself if I really believed that nothing can separate me from that love? Would I give myself a break? Would I give someone else a break? Would I forgive? Would I feel my heart soften and open up? So we take these ideas and these thoughts and questions into the silence, not to beat ourselves up, but to just ask what would be possible if we believed that it was God's pleasure to give us the kingdom, and that there's nothing that can separate us from the love of God, as we sit in the quiet. How good it is to feel the presence of God in the silence. As we're reminded over and over again, silence is the language of God. It has a language all its own. And so we end this time together with gratitude. Gratitude for the example that we've been given. What's possible for us to be so clear and so definite of who we are and of the spiritual power that lives within us. And so we end by the way Jesus prayed. I thank you that you've heard me. I know you hear me always. And together we say, and so it is.
We are the heart, we are the hands, we are the voice of spirit on earth, and who we are, and all we do is a blessing to the world. Together, we are the heart, we are the
spiritual community is how it recognizes that we are each a unique and individual spirit, special to this time and place. And sometimes we feel 10-foot tall bulletproof, we're on top of the world. And sometimes not so much. We need healing and support along the way. And that's what's so great about our community. If you need support, there's a number of ways to get it here. There's prayer request cards at the end of your aisle if you'd like to fill that in. You can submit that. There's awesome and wonderful prayer practitioners here that will be available after the service that you can meet with and talk to. There's even a support phone line that you can call anytime to get some words of support. And of course, there's the website, cslkc.org, that always has a lot of information. And it's those ways of support that's made possible by all of us here, and the ways that we give back to make sure that it is available for everybody. And so we thank you in advance for the ways that you do support. There'll be baskets that come around, and thank you for your donations. And of course, try to text to give if you're so inclined. The information is available in the lobby or on the seat. So thanks so much.
God was the Son, God is the Son, but God so much more than the earth and the stars of all of creation. God is creator, all in all. He needs us to shine His light as we.
said, we are so happy that you decided to spend part of your Sunday with us. If there is anything that you would like to know more about us, I'd be happy to talk with you at the door or just meet you at the door. But we don't ask you to stand. We don't want to embarrass anybody or put you on the spot. We just want you to come and enjoy the time. And if there's something that you heard that resonates with you, we would love to have you back. If not, we just encourage you to find a spiritual home that does work for you and resonate with you. you. Just want to remind you, this is a save the date, that on December 24th, we will have our, I say annual, I guess Christmas Eve is annual, isn't it? That's why I get paid the big bucks. So on December 24th, we will have our Christmas Eve service, but that's save the date. We'll have more information for you later. Matthew talked about the Operation Give on December 19th is taking place, where we meet here and go out in the community and just share our resources and our abundance with unsuspecting people. We had a really cool thing happen this week. As a result of what we did last year at Operation Give, someone found out what we did and gave anonymously. Someone here who went with us last year gave us $1,000 to take out this year. So we already have a great start for the December 19th event. An anonymous donor gave us, as I said, $1,000. So please join us. It was really a lot of fun to see people's faces and the expressions, and I had people in tears. Of course, I was too. So please join us for that on December 19th. I guess the last thing is I think you probably noticed all of the graphics and the slides that we have before and after the service and during the service. So we're looking for someone to take over that job. Sherry Simmons has been doing a lot of that, and she's decided to let that go. So we're looking for someone with graphic experience. That didn't sound right.